everyone. Oh, I see I got two things going at once here. There we go. Sorry, that was me clicking back and forth. I keep forgetting, I'll learn someday that you're about a 2-minute delay. So I clicked off onto the video, said hi, and I could still hear music, but that was behind me. Okay, let's just check our cameras. There's the workspace. And I'm on the, I'm using my Baby Lock Solaris today because I'm going to use the laser beam. So if you have the Baby Lock Solaris, Destiny, the brother comparable to those, the Baby Lock Crescendo, I think anyone that has the sewing laser beam, I thought I'd just throw in there how to use that, because if you've got it, you might as well use it. And even if you're not gonna sew along, you may want to put your machine on and just see where I'm talking about, if that gives you a little help. So if anybody's in, say hi in the chat. So excuse me, so we can all see, not see you, but see your chat. I'm assuming one of these days on the live part, I'll be, I may be all by myself. And that's okay. I'm in New Hampshire, for those of you that don't know. Hi, Rose. We had snow flurries off and on all day today and yesterday. Today didn't amount to anything. I think yesterday there had to be a little plowing. Hi, Rhonda. So little snow flurries each day. Nothing that kept people home. Or shoveling. I think probably no shoveling either, but I can't attest to that for everywhere, because, you know, just like anything, you can have a little different weather 10 miles away, 5 miles away. Okay, so I'm going to wait just one more minute, and let me just double check that camera to see if it comes up okay. Excuse me. Okay, so you see there's a little less screen than I see. So let me back it up a little more. There we go. Maybe if I put it in an angle, a little bit of an angle, it won't get, you know how a camera looks at a computer screen or any kind of screen. It's got a little wobbliness to it. Yeah, we'll give that a try. Okay. So here we go. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat tonight. I thought we'd take a look at the half hexagons. And people can cut these. There's like acrylic templates you can use. And the big point of the half hexagon, hi Lynn, is if you have the hexagon, so consider this to be one piece, when it's hard that you can't sew the next one to it. without putting a little spacer of like background fabric in it. So when you cut them in half and then sew them back together, it's much easier, and you don't have to have any background fabric. So this has, how is it? This has 10 sizes on it, and it starts from 3/4 of an inch tall, and it's going from top to bottom, bottom to top, and it goes up to 3 inches in that one. I have no idea what it costs because there's no price on it. But these, when you get them like this, they're not anywhere near as expensive as your Build-A-Block set is, or your Build-A-Block Plus, I think it's called. So they do have all different shapes, and I thought over the weeks and months of working with this, I'm going to show you different things, different shapes, and that way you might see whether it's something that's of interest to you or not, or you might buy one down the road and you can always come back to this video. Excuse me. I tried to put in all the titles, the Gemini, Crafterscompanion Gemini, and so in the title of this one it does say half hexagons, so you'd be able to find it. And I will keep them in the playlist that's all Gemini stuff. So I'm going to use this one. Let me just put that up there. So this one is 1.5. Okay, and I've already cut some of these out. So what I did is I just have some strips of color, and I'll load one up, and it's folded in half, and I have this half hanging off because remember, when I feed this into the junior, it goes this way. Whatever's hanging off the back is fine. The only thing you want to remember is if you have fabric hanging off the back and it's heavier than this fabric, it's just going to pull it right off. Ask me how I know that. So that's 2 layers because I have it folded, 4 layers, 6 layers. So I'll do 6 layers. And I've already checked my straight of grain. And you notice, see, I've cut before, so I can bring that right up near that edge. Oh, hold on. And the next one will be the other way. I can just turn this. I can turn this either way. What I don't want to do is something like this because now I've biased the whole thing up. Okay? So it's the plastic, the clear plate, the metal plate, and then I think I'll take this down. Pardon my reach. Oh. It's in a little dispenser, but I keep losing my end, so I have to. Okay, so if I wasn't on the screen there, this would be a lot easier, wouldn't it? Oh, there I am, I peeked in. So I'm going to put some tape on here because that's going to help hold all this I have hanging down. I did speak with someone at Crafterscompanion, and she suggested when you're why is it freezing? Come on. You want data for sure. Oh, we're working again. All right, I'm going to leave my hand here until I see it on your screen. That was weird. So internet connection's fine. Everything's green. And it just froze up. Oh. The heck is going? Okay, so let's try. Let's try this again. And let me zoom back a little. Oh God, what is the problem? That's me just sitting and waiting. Let's see. Okay, Rose. Thank you. So I think, gang, we might get pauses here and there. I'm gonna I think for Saturday. Hi, Princess. I think for Saturday I'll see if I can switch to the other computer. I don't know. I don't know what it is because the internet is fine. It's at high speed. It's got all the green lights, and then that was a long. I've been freezing here and there a little bit, so maybe it's the program because I haven't had the problem in Zoom. But anyways, we'll just do a little shorter version and not a lot of sewing. How's that? Okay, I guess I could have cut these while I was waiting, but I was in such a panic. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these. And so if it's going to freeze, it can do it now. cutting reminded me, I gotta keep movement here, otherwise I'll think I'm frozen again. It reminded me, I was speaking with one of the customer support or customer reps from Crafterscompanion, and she recommended that when you're cutting, because I remember I had that plate that cracked on me, she recommended that try it first without the metal shim, and see if that works fine. If it works fine, don't add it. Well, did you hear that? I just flipped my my little die right to the floor. Okay, we're good. Got all miscombobulated there. Okay. Someone let me know if you heard me talking about try it without the metal shim, and if it works fine, you don't have to use it. And that might make your plastic shim and your plates not bend as much because you don't need that much pressure. Okay, hi Chris. Okay, so I've cut some of these out, and I'm going to lay them out because this is what we're working towards. In this case, I wasn't looking for making the tumblers, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how the tumbler would work. So I need 2 of the same color. And we'll do a little set with tumblers. So you're going to put one that's the opposite angle, and that's pretty easy to see because it wouldn't work this way. So you know it has to come around this way. So I'm going to do 2 rows. Okay, and you can make your rows as long as you want to. What have I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4. I can add 1 more. Okay, so in this case of this one, they're just random. I wasn't looking, oh, thanks, Cindy. I wasn't looking to make did I say tumblers before? I'm sorry, it's hexagons. Pardon me. If I keep saying tumbler, that's another one down the road. Hexagons. So the hexagon is right there. And if you find there's a little pause when I talk, it's because I'm waiting for it to unfreeze. So when I did this, I wasn't looking to make hexagons. I just wanted some random colors with these shapes so that it didn't look like any particular shape. But this time when I sew them together, I'll do them as hexagons so you can see the difference. So we have to work in a row. So let me stick that row here and let me work on, which one can you see better? I guess you can see this one better. There we go. If I push it too far to the right now, then I can't see it. Okay, so I'm going to show you what you would do. Well, what I did, so I'm assuming we're all pretty much the same, is I'm just going to flip this one onto this one. And I'm actually going to stitch it. I'm going to line it all up, and I'm going to do a 1/4 inch stitch. Oh, and I got to change my machine. So remember, when I stitch on the baby lot, I'm using under the quilting stitches, I'm using the straight stitch that has a little P for Paul, and the stitch is just a tad to the right. Oh, well, you know what? I've got it set up. Why don't I just show you? Okay, so it's this one right here. So I picked my Q tab, which is up here. Some of you will have the Q tab along here. And if you have like the Aventura, the mid-size range that has about a 6-inch throat space, it'll just be in your, go through your stitches and just look for the section that has a little P. There'll be some with a Q and then some with a P. You want the one with the P that's a little to the right of center when you're using your J foot. Okay? Okay, Microtex 70 needle, 70, what is it, 70-10 needle in. That's what I stitch with regular sewing thread. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this. I had to find my pedal. Because that does seem like the logical thing to do. But look what happens when I open this up. Oh, can you see? It's not lining up. See the space down here? And here, wait a minute. Let me hold this up. I gotta find a better display board or something. So you can see how this one, the darker color is up above. You can see it better down here. And now the lighter color is down below. Okay, so while we were paused, I got my seam ripper because I'm going to take that seam out. I just wanted you to see, so that's as if we lined up this corner with the corner of this, the white one, and the corners both together here. The reason it doesn't work is because the stitch is a 1/4 inch in on that angle. And so we have to allow for that. And it seems hard at first, but you'll get the hang of it pretty quick. Or why couldn't it freeze while I was, undoing stitches? That's kind of boring to watch. Okay, so what we want is, and I'm just hesitating for a second because I'm looking for something so that I can hold it up, you can see it better. Okay, let's try on this. Okay, so here's my 2 pieces. All right, here's my 2 pieces. I put this on my pressing mat so that I can hold it up. So here's our 2 pieces. What I did the first time is I just flipped it over and lined them up exactly edge to edge. Well, that doesn't work because of the 1/4 inch seam allowance. So what we have to do is we have to lift this, and we're going to have like a almost 1/4 inch hanging off of this end, and see how the little dark color shows through, and it's it's smaller in the picture, so it's about a 1/4 inch hanging down that end. And when we start to sew, so it'll be in your machine this way, so we're sewing down this way, and we're going to start sewing right where the 2 colors meet, right in this little, right here. And we're going to stitch down, and we're following down, and see again, see where these 2 meet. We're going to stitch right there, which should be a 1/4 inch. So let me switch to the other camera. Maybe it'll like it over here better. So if you don't have a laser, that's fine. You just go ahead and stitch it. I just thought, well, since I've got a laser, why don't I use it? So on the Solaris, the laser is right here, and it looks like home plate with a stitch coming out. So if you have a different model, you just have to look for where your laser is. And it looks like, let me see if I can lift up closer. Right here. You see this guy? Kind of looks like home plate with a stitch, a line coming up. So on your machine, whichever one you have that has the oh, sorry. Oh, geez, that wasn't nice, was it? Sorry. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to pick my laser. And it's telling me to wait a minute. And if I look over, and pardon me for 1 minute, I can do that. So let me shut it off again. So, and let me, so if you watch right here near my needle plate, you might see the light get brighter. So I'm going to put it on. Up, you see how it lit up? So it made a square. See the square? Now some machines will just make the line. It depends which machine you have. But the Solaris and the Solaris 2 and the Brother Luminaire will do it that way. And I picked my stitch, my laser to be green because I could see it better. And it has a place here to move it left and right. And what I want to do is I want my laser beam to be at the right edge of my fabric so that I know where to put my fabric. So let me see if I can get that. Let me see if I can get it so you can see it. So hold on, we're going for a little ride. Okay, so if I hold it still enough, see my green line right there? You see it? So I want to see that green line, or red, whatever color you make it, on the edge, the very edge of this top fabric. If I have it off the fabric, so you can see it's right there. See it right there? If I have it off the fabric, I find that doesn't help me much. I want to have it on the edge of my fabric. So I would adjust my left-right button to have it where I want it. Okay? So let's zoom into our stitching. Sorry about that. Let's see if I can get a little closer here. And I know you're not going to be able to see the laser, and my hands are probably going to be in your way. But, so I move my fabric around a little too much. So here, oh, let me turn this other light. Because this camera is closer up, it's a little better. There we go. So you see how I have a little bit hanging off here, and then the white is hanging off this end. Oh, let me turn it around. See it? That's the threads from last time. So see how it's hanging off just that little bit? And it should be, excuse me, it should be equal on both sides. So the white should be hanging off as much as this pink is. And we're going to stitch, doesn't matter if you have a laser or you don't, we're going to stitch starting, oh, we're going to be this way. We're going to stitch starting right here where these two fabrics meet. So right here, or just a tad to the right if you want to be askant. Can you see it okay? So we're going to stitch down, and we want to end right with, oh, hold on, right where the intersection of these two fabrics, which is right there. Make sense? Okay. So let's get that done. And I can see, I know you can't, but I can see my green line from my laser. It doesn't matter again what color it is. I can see that green line at the very, very edge of my top fabric. And I have my setting, my bottom setting, position setting on my laser at 8.5 millimeters to the positive side, which means it goes to the right. Okay, so if you want to write that down, it may work for you, but remember, excuse me, I'm using that same quilting stitch, that piecing stitch. Well, that's how I got all lined up, ready to go, and I came unthreaded. And no, I haven't taken my machine in for service yet. I've been busy using it, so you know how that is. Okay, so let me get these lined up again. And you might have to the first couple of times stitch it a few times before you get everything just right. Excuse me. And hopefully I'm on the angle of sewing here. I'm looking on an angle is what I meant. Okay, so let's see how that came out. Once you get the hang of it, then you're all set to go. So now, well, see, I'm a little off. See how I'm still a little off. So I'm going to try it again. I'm going to do it one more time because, like I said, once you get the hang of where you need to be and how much should be hanging off each end, then you're all set to go. So it may seem a bit tedious now. And I would do it on a couple of practice pieces because you could end up, you know, shredding your fabric before you're done. So I think that what I need to do is I needed to have more showing at the top and bottom. So what I did is you don't move left and right. If I need more showing at each end, when I move my light color up a little bit, it automatically has the bottom have more because I've moved the white up. And if you want to, and this is what I do sometimes because, you know, I'm lazy. If I stick a pin in where I should be sewing and I flip it, well, I can see now I'm a little high. So I'm going to come down a little bit. It's hard to hold it up and do it. And I know you're all going, no, that's just too fiddly, but trust me, once you get where it needs to be, then you're good to go. You can stitch right along. So if it's off, it isn't usually about your stitching. It's more about the distance you have above and below. So now I'm looking pretty good. So I'm going to make note that, let's see if I measure this. Okay, that is a full 1/4 inch hanging off each end. Okay, so let me just stitch that. So when I stitched mine the other day, after I got that first one, so I got an eyeball of where I needed to be, it went along pretty easy after that. So it may be just because I'm on camera that it won't. Oh, there we go. So I'm just going to give it a little crease there, a little press with my finger. And now we're right on. Oh, there we go. Okay. And like I said, your eyeball will work after a couple of them. You know, don't get out the ruler for every single one of them. Let me put these up on here. Maybe you can see them better. All right. So I need to finish my row. So I'm going to now. You could flip them in pairs and do them, but I tend, especially I'm doing something that's smaller, I tend to just work across the row. Normally, you know me, we would be, you know, chain piecing, but I found it a little more comfortable mentally to just do them one at a time. Okay, so this time, see how that's a good regular 1/4 inch, because it really needs to match the depth of your seam. And think of the skill you'll have. I have to stand up here to. I'm learning how to sew standing up. And I'm just going to open that. And make sure you press the seam in one direction, because if you don't, it won't look like it's lining up. And we'll see, we're still going along just fine. Now I'm going to do the next one. And I'm looking down at the bottom. I can't see so much the top, so I'm looking at the bottom. Make sure and then I want to make sure I have the right angle. That's always helpful. Okay, now why do I? Oh, I was trying to figure out why it wasn't working, because these are from the ones I cut. These are from the ones I cut the other day, I think. Look, can you see? Yeah. It doesn't help when you try to put together two different sizes. And I grabbed one, so I did use a bigger one on this. So this one looks like 1 3/4. Let's see. Yeah, 1 3/4. I lied to you. I couldn't figure out how come when I flipped it over, I had like a 1/2 inch hanging off the top. So let's use, didn't I cut more of these? That's the right size. Oh, now we're just going to do 3 because I somehow I've mixed things up and got, oh, I did only cut 3. Honest to God. Okay, we'll do 3, just so you can see how the tumbler is going to be. So here's our first row. Sorry, I didn't mean to be confusing. Oh, here's our first row. All right. Now, on this one I made sure they didn't match from row to row. This time, because I want to show you how and I said tumbler again, I think, the hexagon works, I need to line up and do them in the same color order as before. Okay? And you notice, in order for you to have that straight line here, this row is upside down of this row. So see how that wouldn't work. So we got to have I did the first row with the short side of the first one at the top and then went across, so however many you do. The second row, the short side is at the bottom. Okay, so let's get this row sewn together. And of course, you're going to be taking your time. Do you suppose you might have more than one size mixed in together? No, you wouldn't. Okay, so see, that's fine. Now, what you want to do when you press these, even if you're finger pressing them, is this row needs to be opposite of this. The first row needs to be opposite of the second row. So in the first row, I press the light out. In the second row, I'll press the light in, or you can press them all to the right and these all to the left. Want to make it easier? We'll just press them all to the right. And you're going to have that little dog ear. Oh, can you see the little dog ear there? Yeah. See the little dog ear? And we'll just cut that off later. So first row, press the seams all to the right. Second row, the seams will all go to the left because we're going to be matching these up. So let me just get the last one done. I don't think we've had any more frozen time. I think we're doing okay now. My pedal's right next to my tripod foot, so hold on. There we go. I know it's always some dilemma. Okay, so we're pressing the second row all to the left. Okay, so see now how we're getting the hexagon? Isn't that cute? So we're going to stitch this one together. Just so now I'm doing 3 and 3, but you could have 20, you could have 10, you could have, you know. The thing you have to remember is you can't put a portion of it together. You can't put some rows together and then add more onto those rows because then you're back to trying to, how do you sew these together? So you have to determine how long your project is going to be. So in this case, I use the 1 3/4, 1.75, and I've got 4 across. And I'm going to add to this 2 more rows before next week's class, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to turn this into. But I wanted you to have, you know, for your little sample, if you have the hexagon, or again, you can draw your hexagon, so it's a half hexagon. Okay, so we're going to put these together, and we're going to do the old nestle our seams together. And I can feel right down here, my seams are nice and flat together. Oh, I'm going to shut my laser off. I don't need that anymore. I just thought it would be fun to show you the laser in case you have one and probably never use it. But, you know, we do that. We get sewing, we forget about the extra features we have, or we just haven't tried it yet. So this is a good time to try that. And you can use that laser whenever you're trying to follow a straight line. So a lot of times people use the laser to laser down where they're going. In this case, I wanted the laser on the side to know where my fabric needed to be, the same as a seam guide would be. I'm yakking and not doing my duty here. And I want to make sure I line up at the top and bottom. I wasn't lined up at the top and bottom. And I knew without looking down here that I wasn't lined up at the top and bottom because my seams from both sides didn't match. So that meant I had one fabric up higher than the other. Okay, so I'm just going to go down. Now that little, so there's those little, they call them dog ears. So there's one dog ear, there's the other dog ear. Now I can stitch right past and not pay attention to that, but if it bothers you, well, okay, where's my scissors? Oh, here they are. I wanted to see which one of you took my scissors. I'm just going to come in, and I know my pin's in the way, and I'm just going to clip off that dog ear even with the edge of my fabric. So now I can do my regular 1/4 inch right along, and I don't have to worry about the dog ear. Because I know sometimes that can be distracting. I want to make sure that my underneath seam that's facing towards the back isn't flipped over, and I can feel along my seam where they meet to see that it isn't. And I can also see it because I have a dog ear down the bottom. I can see that it's where it belongs. And remember, we don't take our pin out until we get over that seam, because our pin is past the seam, or the seam where the seams join. And I'm just lining up my ends. And let's see what we have here. I'm going to open it up. And now see, you can see your hexagons. I'm just going to give it a little press. So I'm going to turn it over. And I generally, this long seam, I generally let it go the way it wants to. We aren't going to twirl it because there's several seams there. And when I iron, let me get my iron. So here, oh, there, so you can see it better. So the top set is going in one direction, the bottom set's going in the other, and I'm just going to feel and see which way does this seam allowance want to go. Mine seems to want to go down, and that's fine because it isn't going to matter to anything. You just want it to sit the flattest way that it wants to sit. And I'm not going to iron because I'm going to flip these little seams the wrong way, so I'm just going to press. And if I had my big iron, it's heavier, it takes less time to press. I just want to make sure that I don't have, and this side I can iron a bit. I want to stay away from these edges because they're biased. I want to make sure, I want to make sure I don't have a crease in that seam from the top side. So I'm keeping my iron away from these edges. So if you do it this way, okay? I think over the weeks of doing these, you've learned about your bias edges. So now can you see the tumblers? And of course, this would be a dog ear that would be gone. Now, if you do these out to the edge, when you get to the edge, you would square this off so you would only have either half of the tumbler or wherever you decide. You could come all the way over to where the piece is straight. So I could trim it halfway, so I have half a tumbler, or I could come over to where this edge is straight, this one is straight, and come down. And then remember, you're going to be a 1/4 inch in. That would just about give you a half a tumbler. If we cut it at halfway, when you make your 1/4 inch seam, it would be less than halfway. So you at least want to be 3/4. You know, you want to see the half, go a 1/4 inch more. So I think it'd be easier just to go to the edge where it's straight and cut. And so it would look like, well, I'll just cut it off because I'm not going to use this piece anyways. How's that? We'll just give it a haircut. So I'm lining up with the straight edge of the hexagon, the straight edge coming across the top. I want to make sure my ruler is straight all the way across my hexagon. And is it straight? And it's straight across the bottom. And see, I would just cut it like that. Then you'd have a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which would just about bring it to a half hexagon. And I know I folded it a little crooked. So does that make sense? So whenever you're working with these angles and you're putting 2 angles together, you have to do that 1/4 inch hanging over. There he is right there on each end. See? This little hangover should be about the same size as the width of your seam allowance. And trust me, after you do a few of these, you'll learn to, what it makes is, can you see? It makes a little, almost it looks like it's, is that an equilateral triangle when it's the same on all 3 sides? Because doesn't that look about the same on all 3 sides? Does that make sense to everybody? So again, like I said, if you don't have the dies, but you're going to work with angles at some point, that's the way to sew those angles. So in your resource book, I guess you can just do a page that says half hexagon. I think I can do one up and throw it out in the, I'll put a link below this video. I won't be able to do it till tomorrow. And I'll just do a resource page for the half hexagon. And you can make your notes on there. I'll see if I can do a little picture about how to line it up when you stitch it. So you'll have it for your future reference. Now this doesn't, let me see what this measures. 1, 2, 2.5. Okay, so this size measures 2.5. So 4 of these would make your 8-inch square. Oh, hi, Joanne. Long time no talk to you. But so you can have this look. You can have this look. And I'm sorry I cut that one off now. Okay, so you can have this look, and the white one that I have in the middle will be a hexagon next, in the next row. So it'll be like every other row, they're offset from each other. So this time it's 1 and 3, so it would be 1, 3, 5, 7, so on. And in the next row, or the next group, so the 3rd row, this one, 2, 4, 6, 8 number in the row would be the hexagon. So you don't have to put a light in between. You could still do it just like this one is, except these would match. So you can see, here's a hexagon, and then now down alternately, here's the next hexagon, here's the hexagon. So if you wanted your hexagons to show, you just have to match, you want to match the 2 long end pieces. not the short end pieces, the long end pieces. So in other words, this would be a hexagon here because it's the two long ends. And then this part here would be the same color. So it'd be a different color from these two because you want to be able to see them apart from each other. So if you wanted the hexagons to show, they would look like one hexagon when they're one piece of fabric. So let's see if I can do this. So see how you can see this is a hexagon? And what have I got next here? Pink. Okay, so now you can see the hexagon. This would be like that would be the top or the bottom of this one. See how here's your hexagon. So every other one is a full hexagon because it's the long, matching up the long side. So this one, if you wanted to match, make it a hexagon, the one here, the long side, would be the same color as this one. So yes, Rose, it's much easier than the Y seam, and that's why they made them. So that's why you have to really lay out your whole row, and then lay out the next row, because you'll visually see how it's going to look, and you'll be fine, and you're just going to sew one row, put it back, sew the next row, put it back. And I would sew, 1 to 2, open it up, pick up number 3 to 2, number 4 to 3, and just go along my row. Then put my row back, and then I would have my odd number rows, 1, 3, 5, whatever. I would have them press the seam to the left, and my even number rows, I press them to the right. But I would do parts and put them back, and do a row, put it back, then work on the next row, then work on the next row, work on the next row. So if you want to do something before next week, and if you've got the hexagon die, or you want to just cut it out from a template or whatever, you can put this together either way, as hexagons or just like I did, randomly. And I've got, what did I say? I said I got 4 across, the 1 3/4. So it's 1 3/4 from here to here. So if I measure this, the top is, this part is 1 3/4. The bottom is 3 1/2, and it's 1 3/4 from here to here, and you can just connect your lines and make yourself a little cardboard template. Okay, so next week, like I said, I'm going to add on 2 more rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to have 6 rows, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to turn this into something. And next week, I will take an applique die from Crafterscompanion and show you how to cut a fusible applique shape with your Gemini. Just a little to break up, we've been working hard on blocks and things. Okay, so if you're doing samples, I would suggest, I would do 4 across, and I would do 1 sample with the hexagons show, matching each other, and I would do 1 that has some that are just random, because either look is fine to me. Okay, does anybody have any questions? And so on the next one, I would just put, and next time I would have I got to have the right die. That would help, the right size die. So the next time I put the die on, I would just turn it around so that I can come in closer to that edge. So I really didn't need to have it this wide. So this is 3 inches wide. You could go 2.5. So you could use, if you got some strips left from a jelly roll, this would work fine. That would work fine. Okay? So thanks everyone for joining in. I know we had a little glitch at the beginning, but it all worked out. That's the internet for you. I will post Saturday so Saturday at 1 p.m. Is the Saturday sew along, and I will post the project tomorrow. And that's only because I can't make up my mind what I want to do. So I have to decide tonight, get it done tomorrow, and throw it up on Facebook. So I'll see you Saturday at 1 or next Thursday evening at 7. And I'm going to work on, so I'll have the 6 rows together. I'll show you how I'm going to trim the sides, what I'm going to do with it. And I'm going to put some applique on it. And I'll show you how cutting applique on the Gemini with some of the applique dies. Okay, so thanks again, everyone, for joining in. Have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you Saturday at 1. Check the Miss Loreens Schoolhouse Facebook if you're going to stitch along, see what the project is, and I always put the materials needed. It may have some applique pieces. If it does, I will put a link so you can download the pieces so you'll have them. Let's see what else. Make sure you like the video, today's video, whether you like it or not. No, I'm just kidding. Hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Share it with people. We want to build up a little community here. And otherwise, I'll see you on Saturday. So thanks again, everyone, for